So, imagine you are launching or maybe revamping a home decor line.
Okay.
You've got the technical sketches totally dialed in. The aesthetic vision is flawless.
Right, the fun part.
Exactly, the fun part. And your target demographic is completely mapped out. But before you can push a single prototype into production, you hit this massive foundational hurdle.
The one that basically makes or breaks your margin.
Yeah. What are your products actually going to be made of?
Which sounds like just a design question.
On the surface, yeah, it totally does. But the moment you start looking at the logistics, you realize it's actually the most critical operational decision you're going to make.
Oh, absolutely, because material selection dictates your entire business model.
Right.
It isn't just about, the visual warmth of a room or how a piece looks in a catalog. Your core materials determine your manufacturing lead times.
Yeah.
They determine your international warranty liabilities, your brand's sustainability footprint, and, well, the brutal reality of shipping logistics.
The shipping alone is a nightmare if you get it wrong.
Totally. You have to evaluate these materials from a really comprehensive 360-degree perspective. You have to look way beyond the showroom floor.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a highly detailed, comprehensive guide from Mondoro.
Written by Anita Hummel.
Yes, exactly. And we are basically settling the ultimate design and manufacturing showdown here. Wood versus metal versus rattan.
It's a great showdown to have.
Right. We're going to analyze the structural personalities of these materials, the hidden supply chain costs, the manufacturing risks.
And how to strategically align all of that with the actual brand architecture you are trying to build.
Because it is a critical comparison.
Yeah.
Wood, metal, and rattan, they behave entirely differently throughout their entire life cycle.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
They require vastly different tooling. They require varying degrees of post-purchase customer education, which people always forget about.
Oh, yeah, they do.
And they signal very different value propositions to your buyer. As a brand owner, your material choice is literally the structural foundation of the story you're telling your market.
So let's start with the heavyweight of the industry.
Let's do it.
Wood. It is the timeless classic. I mean, wood offers this inherent organic elegance that synthetic materials just can't replicate.
They try, but it's never the same.
Never. But what really stands out in the source material is how strictly different wood species dictate your supply chain and your aesthetic positioning.
Yeah, you can't just say we use wood.
Exactly. Like if you're leaning into a traditional heritage build, you're going to utilize oak.
Right, for its pronounced grain and robust density.
But then if you pivot to walnut, because you want that mid-century modern aesthetic.
Which everyone loves right now.
Oh, absolutely. With those deep chocolate tones and the subtle grain, you aren't just changing the look of the piece.
No, you are entirely restructuring your supplier network.
Right. You're dealing with completely different pricing tiers, different lead times.
And that supplier network is really just the beginning of the complexity. Well, what's fascinating here is that if your brand leans into, say, Scandinavian minimalism, you're likely sourcing maple for its uniform light appearance.
Okay.
Or maybe cherry, which is highly prized because it develops this incredibly rich reddish-brown patina over time.
Oh, I love how cherry ages.
It's beautiful. But regardless of the specific species you choose, you are dealing with the fundamental duality of wood.
Right.
It can withstand generations of high-traffic use, but at its core, it remains a hygroscopic material.
It breathes.
Exactly. It's essentially still alive. It constantly seeks equilibrium with the moisture in its environment.
Which becomes a massive liability if you aren't engineering for it.
A huge liability.
Like, think about this. If you ship a solid wood dining table that was manufactured in a really humid climate,
say Indonesia or Vietnam.
right, and you ship it straight to a dry environment like Arizona.
Oh, boy.
If you haven't properly kiln-dried the lumber or engineered the joinery to allow for movement,
that piece is going to expand, contract, and inevitably crack.
it will literally tear itself apart. And that living nature of wood translates directly into international warranty claims and massive return rates.
Yeah, you have to engineer for the material's volatility.
What does that actually look like in practice?
It means utilizing specific techniques on the manufacturing floor. Things like floating panels or elongated screw holes underneath the table.
Ah, so the wood can slide a bit.
Exactly. So the wood can move and shift without tearing the actual piece apart.
That makes so much sense.
And your job as a brand doesn't stop at the manufacturing level. You have to heavily invest in customer education.
Because the customer doesn't know any of this.
Right. You need to clearly communicate, for example, whether a piece is finished with a penetrating oil.
Which requires what, like biannual reapplication?
Yep. Or if it has a polyurethane finish that completely seals the wood.
But that's much harder to repair if it gets deeply scratched, right?
Exactly. Managing those consumer expectations up front is really the only way a piece actually survives as a generational heirloom.
Building on that, the durability and the craftsmanship directly impact your cost and sustainability narratives too.
Oh, massively.
There's a vast economic spectrum here. Domestic hardwoods offer a pretty stable mid-tier price point.
True.
Whereas exotic species will aggressively drive up your retail price.
And that narrows your target demographic pretty quickly.
Exactly. Then you have engineered woods like MDF or high-grade plywood.
Which a lot of people turn their noses up at.
They do. But they provide incredible dimensional stability and cost efficiency.
They really do. They often serve as the perfect substrate for premium veneers. But you're right, they lack the prestige of solid lumber.
And the sustainability angle is equally complex. The source highlights that sourcing FSC-certified wood is essentially the baseline expectation for modern brands now.
Yeah, it just ensures the lumber comes from responsibly managed forests. It's the bare minimum.
But if you want to leverage sustainability as a core marketing pillar,
Reclaimed wood is the gold standard.
it really is. It keeps materials out of landfills and offers this incredibly potent narrative for the buyer.
However, from a supply chain perspective,
It's a nightmare.
it is notoriously difficult. Scaling a business on reclaimed wood means you are constantly dealing with inconsistent material yields.
And hidden nails.
Oh, the hidden nails that just destroy your milling equipment.
Yeah.
Plus, just completely unpredictable inventory.
And from a purely logistical standpoint, wood sits right in the middle of the pack.
Weight-wise.
Right. It's lighter than solid steel, but it's significantly heavier than rattan. While the weight is manageable, the finishes are highly vulnerable to micro scratches during trans-Pacific freight.
You really have to factor in the cost of robust, multi-layered packaging engineering.
A thin cardboard box is not going to protect a premium walnut cabinet from the vibrations of a cargo ship.
Definitely not. So while wood requires you to manage its organic volatility, metals, our next contender, demands upfront precision.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, because if wood is the traditional storyteller, metal is the sleek industrial innovator.
Completely.
Metal allows for perfect geometric precision. You can get these incredibly thin profiles and structural spans that would instantly snap if you attempted them with wood or rattan.
The whole creative vocabulary changes.
It does.
You have stainless steel delivering this hyper-clean, contemporary aesthetic. You have wrought iron bringing in that traditional heavy craftsmanship.
And aluminum offering modern lightweight versatility.
Exactly. And then there are the living metals, like brass and copper, which actually, much like cherry wood, they develop a distinct patina.
But you really have to know your demographic there.
Why is that?
Because some high-end consumers view that patina as bespoke character. They love it.
Right.
But others view it as the product degrading, and they will literally call you and demand a replacement.
Wow. Yeah, you have to educate the buyer. And that aesthetic preference ties directly into the durability and the failure modes of the material, doesn't it?
It does. Metal's structural integrity is legendary, but it has highly specific vulnerabilities.
Like rust.
Exactly. Iron and carbon steel will inevitably rust if their protective finishes are compromised by just a simple scratch.
And what about aluminum?
Aluminum provides excellent corrosion resistance, but it has a lower yield strength, meaning it dents much more easily during transit or everyday use.
Which is why the finishing process is arguably the most critical step in metal manufacturing.
Absolutely.
The guide breaks down the options, and each has its own cost-benefit analysis. Like powder coating offers exceptional thick protection.
It does, but if it does chip from a hard impact, moisture can get underneath it.
Oh, and then what happened?
It causes rust to bubble up invisibly until the finish just flakes off in huge chunks.
That's awful. What are the other options?
Well, you have plating, which offers a stunning premium look, but it will wear down at high contact points over time.
Right.
Or you can use clear coats, which preserve the raw industrial aesthetic, but they require rigorous maintenance.
And the tooling, the welding, and all those specialized finishing processes, they require serious industrial infrastructure and highly skilled labor.
They really do. Consequently, metal typically commands a higher initial production cost.
It positions your products firmly in the mid to premium market right out of the gate.
Yeah. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, you also have to weigh the environmental economics.
Right, because mining and refining virgin metal ores is massively energy intensive. It carries a huge carbon footprint.
It does.
But the counterbalance to that initial footprint is that metal is infinitely recyclable.
That's the key right there.
Aluminum can be melted down and reformed endlessly without any degradation in its molecular structure.
So if a brand strategically commits to utilizing high percentages of post-consumer recycled metals.
They can effectively neutralize that initial environmental cost.
Exactly. And then they can market a highly sustainable product.
Let's look at the shipping logistics for metal, because this is where metal can either destroy your margins completely or revolutionize your business model.
Oh, this is the make or break moment for metal. Fully assembled metal furniture is brutally heavy.
Yeah.
If you are shipping a fully welded wrought iron bed frame overseas, the dimensional weight and the raw freight costs will likely wipe out your profit margin before the container even leaves the port.
But this is where the precision of metal manufacturing provides a massive strategic advantage.
Yes.
Because metal components can be machined with such exacting tolerances, they are the ultimate candidate for flat tack engineering.
It's the aha moment for so many designers.
You can design a structurally indestructible premium piece of furniture that breaks down into a remarkably dense, totally flat box.
And that completely changes the e-commerce equation.
Drastically.
You reduce your shipping volume, you mitigate the risk of transit damage because that dense packaging leaves no negative space for things to bounce around.
And you optimize your warehouse storage.
Exactly.
That does raise a question, though.
Okay, what is it?
Does requiring the end user to assemble a piece, even if it's flat packed beautifully, does that cheapen the premium perception of a metal product?
You know, it can if it's executed poorly.
Like with cheap little screws and bad instructions.
Right. But premium brands bridge that gap by utilizing high-end, visible architectural hardware.
Ah, I see.
If the assembly bolts are presented as a deliberate industrial design feature rather than some hidden compromise.
The consumer perceives the assembly process as interacting with a piece of precision engineering.
Exactly, rather than just feeling like they're putting together cheap budget furniture.
That is a brilliant way to reframe the user experience.
It really is.
Okay, let's shift focus to a material that solves the weight problem entirely. Rattan.
I love rattan.
This material is dominating specific design sectors right now. It provides an immediate organic texture and a relaxed bohemian charm.
It relies entirely on woven patterns and structural airiness rather than dense surface finishes.
And its visual lightness makes it an indispensable tool for designers working with smaller urban floor plans.
Oh, definitely. In a small apartment, a solid wood credenza would feel visually suffocating.
But a rattan piece feels open.
Exactly. Furthermore, the handcrafted woven nature of rattan provides this amazing artisanal authenticity.
Because no two pieces are exactly identical.
Right. The slight variations in the natural fibers aren't viewed as defects. They are proof of human craftsmanship.
Which commands a real premium in today's highly automated market.
But this raises an important question about rattan's structural integrity.
Yeah, because it's lightweight and visually airy, consumers often assume it's fragile.
It's a huge misconception. The Sosh material clarifies that high-quality rattan is actually incredibly impact-resistant.
Really? How did that work?
Its strength lies in its elasticity.
Fine.
If a rigid material takes a sharp impact, it cracks or dents. Rattan flexes and simply absorbs the kinetic energy.
That's amazing.
However, while it is impact-resistant, it is strictly climate-bound.
Right.
You have to design and market rattan explicitly for controlled indoor environments.
Because if you place it in a high humidity environment, like an outdoor patio in Florida, the fibers will absorb the moisture and become a breeding ground for mildew.
Yes. And conversely, in an aggressively dry environment, those same fibers lose their essential moisture.
They become brittle and snap under pressure.
Exactly. And UV exposure from direct, harsh sunlight will rapidly degrade and bleach the material.
So your warranty parameters have to clearly outline these environmental restrictions to protect your margins from improper consumer use.
You have to be very clear with the buyer. And looking at the cost structure, while the raw material itself sits in a moderate price tier,
The intense manual labor required to steam, bend, and weave the rattan drives the final unit cost way up,
It does. You are heavily reliant on a skilled artisan workforce.
which presents a long-term supply chain consideration, right? As that highly specialized labor pool fluctuates over time.
Exactly. But the sustainability narrative of rattan is arguably the strongest of the three materials we've discussed.
It really is. A lot of people don't know this, but rattan isn't a tree.
No, it's not.
It is a rapidly renewable vine that grows within tropical forest canopies. It actually requires the existing trees for structural support so it can climb toward the canopy light.
Which means you literally cannot harvest rattan in a clear-cut environment.
It needs the forest to survive.
Exactly. Sustainable rattan harvesting creates a direct, lucrative economic incentive for local communities to actively preserve their tropical forests.
Rather than clear-cutting them for timber or agricultural expansion.
Right. When a brand sources sustainable rattan, they are directly funding active rainforest conservation.
That is the ultimate marketing narrative for an eco-conscious demographic right there.
It's incredibly powerful.
Now, regarding logistics, rattan has an obvious superpower. It weighs almost nothing compared to solid wood or steel.
True. But that lack of weight presents a completely different shipping nightmare.
Conventional weight.
Yes. Freight carriers charge based on the amount of space a package occupies on a truck, not just its physical weight.
Because rattan furniture is fully assembled and features bulky, irregular, airy shapes, you are essentially paying premium freight rates to ship empty air.
Exactly, unless you engineer the product's line specifically for logistics.
How do brands do that with rattan?
Smart brands design their rattan chairs with slightly tapered frames so they can stack or nest perfectly inside one another.
Oh, that's clever.
By nesting 4 chairs into the cubic volume of one, you instantly circumvent those dimensional weight penalties.
But you still have to invest heavily in rigid structural packaging, don't you?
Yes, you do. Because while the chair can survive a bump in a living room, the woven structures will crush instantly if a forklift drops a heavier pallet on top of them during transit.
It's a constant balancing act between material properties, manufacturing capabilities, and supply chain realities.
Ways.
So what does this all mean? As a listener conceptualizing a product line right now, how do you synthesize all of this?
Well, you have to aggressively align your material choice with your target demographics values and your operational capabilities.
For instance, if your brand equity is built on heritage, permanence, and organic warmth, you anchor your line in wood.
Right. You are targeting a consumer who views furniture as a generational investment and is willing to perform the required maintenance.
But if you are positioning your brand around industrial innovation, sleek architectural lines, and zero maintenance longevity, metal is your foundation.
Because you're targeting a design-forward urban demographic that values precision and indestructible functionality.
And if your brand identity revolves around artisanal craftsmanship, natural textures, and rigorous, eco-friendly narratives, rattan is the clear choice.
Absolutely. But the most sophisticated product lines don't isolate these materials.
Oh.
No, they leverage the magic of mixed materials. It solves engineering and aesthetic problems simultaneously.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mixing materials allows you to offset the weaknesses of one with the strengths of another.
Like the expansion coefficient of wood we talked about earlier.
Exactly. If you bolt a solid, volatile wood slab tightly to a rigid steel frame without engineering slotted connection points, the wood will crack as it tries to move.
Right.
But if engineered correctly, you can utilize sleek, powder-coated steel legs to provide immense structural rigidity to a heavy walnut dining table.
Eliminating the visual bulk that solid wood legs would require.
Yes, or you utilize woven rattan panels inserted into solid wood cabinet doors.
Oh, I've seen that. It looks fantastic.
It does. You retain the premium, sturdy framing of the hardwood, but the rattan drastically reduces the physical weight of the doors.
Which puts way less strain on the hinges over time.
And simultaneously softens the visual weight of the piece in the room. You are essentially engineering a conversation between the materials.
It really demonstrates a level of design sophistication that differentiates a brand in a very saturated market.
It proves that you aren't just selecting materials based on aesthetics, but that you understand how they interact mechanically and functionally.
This has been an incredibly deep look into the hidden mechanics of the design world. We've moved from the living volatility of wood to the precise, scalable economics of metal.
All the way to the climate-bound, forest-saving attributes of rattan.
It requires a serious strategic mindset.
It does.
Yeah.
And I really want to leave you with a crucial thought regarding the future of this industry.
Go for it.
Think about your favorite piece of furniture in your own home right now, or your current product designs.
Okay.
knowing what you know now about how these materials age, react to the environment, and tell a story. If your personal brand was a material, how would it age in a customer's home 20 years from now? As global shipping regulations inevitably tighten regarding carbon footprints, and as premium raw materials face increasing scarcity, will a piece like that even be legally or economically viable to manufacture 20 years from now?
Wow.
The material you choose today doesn't just dictate your current margins, it might dictate whether your brand survives the supply chain realities of tomorrow.
That is a chilling but absolutely necessary perspective.
Yeah,
The material really is the destiny of the brand.
it is.
Well, if you are ready to navigate these supply chain realities and develop some truly great home decor products for your own collection, or if you simply want to master the intricacies of global manufacturing and design, you need to take action.
Absolutely.
First, make sure you subscribe to the podcasts, Global Trade Gal and Deep Dive by Global Trade Gal.
Highly recommend them.
You also need to subscribe to the Mondoro Company Limited YouTube channel for incredible video content and industry insights.
They have great stuff on there.
And join the community by signing up for their newsletter. And make sure you check out their absolutely free lookbook. It is packed with actionable inspiration.
It really is.
Finally, if you are ready to transition from mood boards to actual manufacturing, reach out and contact Anita Hummel at Mondoro directly to make your home decor line a reality.
She's the expert.
All the resources are waiting for you. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the materials that build our world. We will catch you on the next one.